Tell me where you at in the jungle. Who they bringing it back to the jungle? And the game day, yeah, the jungle's back. Got the natty pack in the orange and black stripes.
Welcome, everybody, to the Cincinnati Bengals Weekly Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. We are at Week 3, Bengals-Panthers preview, a little review of the Ravens. I'm your co-host, Mike Goodpaster. And right now, I want to welcome in my other co-host. You know him as number 58 on the 1988 AFC champions, Joe Kelly. How you doing, Joe?
Oh, Mike, great day, man. Great day to be part of Bengal Nation. Great day to wear that orange and black, man. We're, know it's early in the season, Mike, but anytime you're sitting on top of the AFC, North, man, you can't complain.
Yeah, and the best part, Joe, is the Pittsburgh Steelers are on the very bottom.
On the very bottom, man. It can't. You want to take a picture of this because, I don't know how long it's going to last, but, anytime Pittsburgh is on the bottom, man, it's a great day in Houday Nation, man. So, good deal, man. We went out, man, and guys started quick, man, and held on and made some big plays, man. So, it's looking pretty good for us.
All right, Joe, and of course last week the Bengals won 34-23, but we're going to start off talking about what it was like for you and the rest of your teammates to be honored 1988 AFC champions 30th anniversary. So you want to talk to us a little bit about the festivities there?
Oh man, it was I would say it was one of the best weekends ever. And Mike, a little bit ago, man, the Browns actually footed the bill, the entire bill. So they flew my teammates in first class, put them up in the hotel. So people who know the Browns know that's huge. So we had an event Wednesday night, which was absolutely amazing. But then the day of the game, it was good to gather with the guys, and the Bengals hosted a tailgate specifically for the Super Bowl team, and then we did some autograph signing, and then we were able to go down there on the field, down there in the locker room where the current players are, and just to kind of the guys were coming out of the locker room and giving us high five, and guys were kind of saying motivating things to those guys, and just being on the field, and just being part of that. Anytime it's prime time football, you're the only show in town. You had that great feeling, man, and we got on the field, man, and seen guys that I hadn't seen practically since the Super Bowl. So some of my former teammates, man, Jason Buck, my roommate Chris Collinsworth, Reggie Williams. I mean, you name it. There was a couple guys. Boomer wasn't able to make it, but we had a couple of quarterbacks, Mike Norseth and Turk Shoulder, there, and a lot of local guys. It was a great night. Just with the camaraderie and being on the field, and then going up in the Bengal suites and seeing the current team get off to that amazing start, how they did, man. Scoring 3 touchdowns right away, getting to a fantastic start, man. So it just kind of built on the whole momentum and the whole vibe. Kind of remind us of that. That 88 feel that you had when you walked into Riverfront Stadium, and you walked into the jungle.
Yeah, and when you talk about that was a special time. Hopefully this will turn out the same way. Andy Dalton was 24 for 42, 265 yards, 4 touchdowns. I think his first 3 passes to A.J. Green were all touchdowns. The Bengals were up 21-0. They played at a high pace, similar to the 88 team. And then for some reason, they kind of slowed it down, which I don't understand. I don't know why you wouldn't keep your foot on the gas pedal there. But offensively, the thing that stood out to me was, number one, Tyler Boyd looked amazing again. 6 catches, 91 yards. Of course, Green and Dalton were the story of the night. But all of that was made possible by an offensive line that actually, against a good Ravens front seven, held up pretty well.
Oh, absolutely. They were, sustaining blocks, You know, that's why, you know, in this league, it's, you know, being able to go against a formidable defense and sustain a block. You got a running back like Joe Mixon, you know, Giovanni. Those guys, you're talking about you know, a half a second, you know, a second, and you know that this is a game of inches. So if you can sustain blocks, if you can wall off guys, you know, and just for that, you know, just for that second, for that guy to get to that hole, you know, you start opening up lanes, and when you start doing that, you know, it opens up the field. The field becomes bigger. You know, they start creeping up, and then boom, you get AJ, you get Tyler Boyd doing what you know, they did. You know, so now they got to back off. So now they back off, and now we hit them with a dose of Joe Mixon. So you know, I really like the way you know, the offensive coordinator is making calls, and you know, we're spreading AJ all around the field. You know, and you know, the offensive line, they look great. You know, it's unfortunate. I really haven't heard with Billy Price what exactly. You know, I know it was a sprained foot. So hopefully that's not one of those, you know, sprains that lingers the entire season. Because you know when you get sprains, like sometimes sprains are worse than breaks. You know, you can break an ankle and have surgery, get in the cast, and be back 4 weeks, or you can have a bad sprain that will literally, you know, hamper you the entire season. So hopefully, you know, it's nothing like that, and then he can get back and be in the core instead of our offensive line.
Yeah, and defensively, I think there was a lot of things to like about this game. Number one, we shut down the run. Number two, defensive line, Geno Atkins and Carlos Dunlap, they're always going to do their job. But the thing that stood out to me on the defensive line was Sam Hubbard.
Hey, he didn't play as much the first game. And, you know, when you get out there and you get your opportunities and you get out there and you make plays and you're doing things, coach is going to call your number. So, you know, I think that's what happened. They put him in. They realized that he really didn't get a lot of snaps the first week. And, you know, he's getting out there and, hey, you make a difference. You're putting pressure. You're sacking a quarterback. You know, you're making plays. You know, and like I said, all season, you know, things become contagious, Mike. Winning is contagious. You see guys, you know, I'm looking at Dunlap and Geno Atkins. Right now, man, those two dudes are playing. They're playing balls out, all out. You know, those two cats are balling, man. So when you have those, you know, Geno's, you know, he's collapsing the pocket, pushing the pocket. You know, Carlos is coming off that at the edge. He's playing the run better. You know, you see those things. So now, look, now it's like, hey, man, I want to make a play too. You know, these guys are balling. So, you know, it becomes contagious. You know, and like we were, you know, reiterating that 88 team, it became contagious. Everybody was making plays, so you want to make a play. You know, and then you get that feel, hey, we're going on the field, and somebody, I want to make a big play before you make a big play. You know, and hopefully this thing can you get to that level where, you know, it gets contagious and guys are getting out there and getting after the quarterback and, you know, stopping the runs and you know, making sure you're filling those run gaps. You know, so you know, I see these guys are flying around, and you know, Mike, the biggest thing, man, we did this without Brown and without our heart and soul, perfect.
Yeah,
so you know, to me, you know, that's a good time.
When you look at those linebackers, I thought Nick Vigil and especially Hardy Nickerson and Jordan Evans played much better this week than they did in week one.
Oh, it was no question. You know, like I said, you know, defense. You just need one guy to break down the defense. You can have 10 guys do their job, and one guy goes in the wrong gap. One guy plays the wrong coverage, and bow. You know, they score, make a big play, and the defense doesn't look good. But when you have guys clicking on all cylinders, and like we said the first week, those crossing routes were killing our linebackers. So these guys were playing disciplined defense. They were chopping back in the proper zones. You know, they were filling the correct running gaps, and you know, D-line. When you got a D-line putting pressure and playing like that, you know, as a linebacker, man, I'm salivating. You know, put me in front of 4 guys that are kicking butt. Man, I'm telling you, man, I'm looking at a 16-17 tackle game. I'm looking at, you know, destroying some things up there, man. So, you know, it's you know, linebackers, you know, they did a much improved job.
Now, when we transition to the Carolina game, injuries are going to be a huge issue for both teams. And that includes linebacker Preston Brown, who you just brought up, Michael Johnson, both of whom were limited on Thursday for a second straight day. Preston Brown is recovering from his ankle injury suffered in Week 1, while Johnson is battling an MCL sprain suffered in Week 2. It looks like both players are trending towards questionable, and then it gets worse from there, which is Joe Mixon and Billy Price. Neither one of them practiced. They're likely to miss at least the next 2 games. But on the bright side, Giovanni Bernard got in a full session Thursday after being limited on Wednesday. And, of course, the Bengals signed Thomas Rawls to kind of fill in for Joe Mixon. So what's your take on these injuries, the effect they'll have on this team, and then signing Thomas Rawls?
Well, when you look at a guy like Joe Mixon and what he brings to your offense, that's like losing Vontaze Burfict on defense. So, I think I know Giovanni is more than qualified to get back there and do some of the things that he can do. But at the end of the day, he's not Joe Mixon. He doesn't have that size. So there's some things that Joe Mixon can do that he can't do. So, we are going to miss that. When you take out Price, when you take the heart and soul of your offense, because at the end of the day, you understand that the center is controlling everything, Mike. So nobody's going to just sit up there and let you call a play, and we're going to just sit there like dummies and like we're just on the chalkboard marking X's and O's. They're going to move. They're going to stunt. Those guys are going to be shifted. So that center, he has to make sure that these guys we are blocking the right guys on the run. And when they're coming and they're running blitzes and they're doing all these stunts, that he's calling the correct practice and knowing and telling these guys the correct way to slide. So the running back. So you're going to lose that cohesiveness that they've built. From the preseason and the first 2 games. And that's you can't help it. So hopefully those 2 guys, the center and Giovanni can come in and kind of help out. And the thing with that is don't do things to lose the game. Don't do things to calling the wrong pass, the pass blocking scheme. So you have to worry about those things. And now Andy getting used to a different center. All those things come into play. So, I think signing Rawls, he was a proven veteran guy coming in. But at the end of the day, I don't know how big of an impact he should actually have this week. Because you have to pick up the offense. You just can't. You're not going to be able to just put somebody in there and they're going to know the blocking schemes and who to pick up on coverages. So that's always a problem for running backs.
I would think Mark Walton from Miami of Florida, their 4th-round draft pick, would probably be the main guy in this. In 30 career games for the Miami Hurricanes, he had 2,630 total yards. I think 700 of that receiving. He's a good player. He's a guy that I think was a 4th-round draft pick because he got injured 4 games into last season. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do. And, I mean, we can always look at this on the bright side. We may come out of these 2 games, and all of a sudden we've got 3 guys that are stud running backs.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. When you have injuries, you're able to see what these young guys are all about. So it gives Hardy Nickerson and Jordan Evans, it gives guys like that an opportunity to showcase their skills. When you get out here offensively, we're going to get out there and those guys watching he's going to get an opportunity to make some plays. And stars are born. When people get injured and these guys come in and nobody's ever heard of, and they were great in college, and all of a sudden they get an opportunity to get out here and perform. And they perform so well that it wind up becomes an issue on who's going to start. I don't think that's going to be the issue with Joe Mixon because he's a young guy, and he's just a rare talent. But it's going to give these guys an opportunity, Mike, to get out there and showcase their talents and, try to fit in what we have. We have the pieces. So with the injuries that we have, Mike, we have to And I love my UW guy. I love him. I still think he has an opportunity to do things.
He got to catch the ball at some point, though.
He got to catch the ball. My thing is, when I'm looking around the league, and I'm looking at Fitzpatrick throwing long passes to Deshaun Jackson. Deshaun Jackson is not as faster, is not as fast as Ross. You got to be able to send him. Let the guy get out there and utilize his speed. You're looking around the league, and you have guys, Tyrod Taylor last night. If he throws the ball far enough, then Caldwell, who's a 4-4 guy, not a 4-1 guy, he can run under the ball. But this situation, we need Eifert. Eifert really hasn't been a really integral part of our offense, and we know he's a proven talent. I think he's playing himself into game shape. You missed so many games in 2 years.
He was a little more active last week than he was in week 1.
Yeah. So the thing is, those two pieces. If Ross can get out there, he can make some plays, and Eifert can get out there and he can do some things. That's going to take up from the slack of losing Price and losing Mixon. And then those running backs just got to make sure you're picking up the blitzes, making sure you guys are, running the right routes and doing all those things. And, I think we'll be fine. But I think we definitely going to need more protection from John Ross, and we're going to have to get Tyler Eifert more involved in that passing game.
And you look at the Panthers injury report, and it's just as bad as the Bengals. It looks like cornerback Dante Jackson with a groin injury will be out. Tight end Greg Olsen, who is probably their biggest offensive threat. Wide receiver Curtis Samuel. Safety Denoris Searcy. And guard Trey Turner. And I think Olsen's a big loss, but Turner may be the biggest loss if he's inactive. He's their starting guard. And he's a very good guard for a team that has already been hit hard along the offensive line with injuries. If he's out, that will allow Geno Atkins and Andrew Billings to make a bigger impact on this game. And I think for the Bengals to win, Geno and Andrew have to dominate in the middle of this defense.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not looking at all of our games. When you have if our D-line plays up to their expectations, I have no doubt that we're going to be in every game. But when you're out and you have key injuries, they're going to have to make a bigger impact. So now that you have their guard, a really good NFL, Pro Bowl type guard out of the game, is going to even have to step it up more. And I have no doubt that those guys our interior guys are going to, get out there and, push that pocket, collapse the pocket, and get out there and make it easier for the ends. With that, when that happens, that's going to get everybody else involved. So, I'm looking for, our interior guys to have a big day.
All right, and when we look at the 3 keys to the game, my number 1 key for playing Carolina, I think, is limit yards after contact. The Bengals must keep this to a minimum, especially with Christian McCaffrey. I think Carolina will look to put the second year back in space, so the Bengals linebackers and safeties have got to bring this guy down with the first tackle. You can't let him run around. I think if the Bengals are sound in their tackling, it can turn into a long day for the Panthers in a hurry. And the same can be said for Cam Newton, who will find a way to convert tough third downs with his legs, breakthrough tackles. They need to keep Newton contained in the pocket and make him beat them throwing the ball.
Oh, absolutely. When you go against Cam Newton, it's a dual threat. It is. He's not the guy that just takes off and runs like he did in his earlier days. But that threat is just still there. So you're going to have to be disciplined in your pass rushing lanes. You're not going to be able to go out and invert the line of scrimmage and dip back under. You're going to if you stay in your passing lanes or rushing lanes, you can keep them in that pocket. So if we become undisciplined, then we're looking at Cam making some big plays. And then with McCaffrey, we can get out there and we can limit. We get that push, on up front, and then our linebackers can just fill the proper gaps. To me, the onus is still going to be on our linebackers because you have Olsen out, But I know they're gonna move, their guys around. They're gonna move McCaffrey. They're gonna move him around and try and find a mismatch. And if you're looking at our defense, I think they're gonna have to, and they're gonna try and find mismatches with our young linebackers. So if Preston doesn't play, you're looking at Hardy Nickerson and Jordan Evans. Again, these are guys with not a lot of mileage in this league. So it's a lot of things that they haven't seen, and I think they're offensively they're gonna try and attack where our weaknesses are, and I do think right now that is going to be in our linebacker core.
Yeah, and I think the second key to this game, especially winning on the road, and you brought this up, is John Ross and Tyler Eifert have to become weapons in this game. For all the weapons making plays through the first 2 weeks, we haven't seen many big games from Eifert or Ross. Austin Hooper was able to break big plays at tight end against the Panthers last week, who proved susceptible to the deep ball also. So they're going to be preaching the need to stop A.J. Green and Tyler Boyd. But Ross can blow the top off of this game, I think. Second-year corner James Bradbury for the Panthers ran a 4.53 coming out of college. You got rookie Dante Jackson, who was starting last week but injured his groin. Either way, whoever's on the opposite end has to be tested. And this is a week where if John Ross can get it done in the NFL, he needs to blow it up this week and show us.
Oh, absolutely. It's a talent that's crazy. Me watching this kid, from Pop Warner to high school to college now. But like you said, this when you get to this league, Mike, everybody's fast, everybody's good. And this is you got to be mentally strong. So he has to go out there and believe and let his talent and his skills take over. Because I'm looking at Deshaun Jackson, coming from the same place, same neighborhood, dude. You're faster than this guy. You got better hands than him. But Deshaun Jackson obviously is one of the the most confident receivers in the league. He's carried that no matter where he went, he's gone. He's always felt that he's a top tier receiver. And he still continues to show that even though he's up in age. So John is going to have to. He's going to have to get out there and he's going to have to make some plays, stretch the field, and if we can get him stretching that field and holding on to that ball, you open up the lanes. There's not a linebacker can stay with Eifert. And then we're moving around, moving AJ around, and Tyler Boyd is doing what he's doing. It's an offense when you look at it. It's kind of like from a defensive coordinator standpoint, man, it's like pick your poison. Do I want to die a quick death or do I want to die a slow death? Am I going to double AJ and put a safety over top, and have a linebacker collapse on AJ? Now, if you do that, now you're taking away, someone, you're taking away the middle. So now you have Eifert coming in, and then you have Boyd doing crossing routes. So, we still, offensively, Mike, we still have guys that really create havoc for a defensive coordinator.
Yeah, and I think in the end, as most games are, it's going to be decided by turnovers and up front on the offensive lines. That worries me with the Bengals. The Panthers are one of the most aggressive fronts. They get after the quarterback. So can we keep Dalton upright, and can we run the ball against them, which teams have been able to run the ball against them. And my question is, can Gio Bernard and Mark Walton pick up the blitz? I mean, when you look at it, Carolina's got Luke Kuechly, who is one of the 2 or 3 best linebackers in football. And the other key is Dre Kirkpatrick. It seems like he touches 5 balls a game, but he can't catch them to save his life. And they have got to take advantage of Cam Newton throwing them the ball. He threw 16 interceptions last year. He's going to give you a couple opportunities here, and you cannot let that get through your hands. And I think overall, Carolina is a beatable team that if we tackle and we block, we'll be fine. And the offensive line worries me because Billy Price is out and Bobby Hart's playing right tackle. But Bobby Hart's got to be better than Cedric Ogbuehi, so it doesn't worry as much. But I think up front, I think the ability for our interior defensive linemen to get a push up the middle and to be able to make Cam Newton uncomfortable, maybe force a mistake or two, is the key to the Bengals winning this game.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely, absolutely. You know, we are, we're gonna go. If our D line is dominant, Mike, we're like I said, we're gonna be in every game. You know, they're gonna have to. We'll have to get a push or offensive line. They're gonna have to do what they've been doing. Any game, when you look at any matchup and who has an advantage where you can take advantage of this player or that player. You know, it's all in the trenches. So you know, it's their offensive line against our D line, our offensive line against their D line, and whichever line is more dominant, they're going to become the victor. Because Carolina, you look at it different. They're as solid as defense as you can put. You know, without the injuries. But they have guys, they have proven guys. They have, NFL MVP and Kuechly. You know, you have these guys. But I still, that being said, when you look at, I just look at what we have, what we're bringing to the table, the level our guys are playing, the level that our offensive line is playing, minus, the tackle. You know, that's still subject, but it's not what we've been seeing the last 3-4 years in misery of what you're not supposed to do playing offensive tackle in NFL. I mean, we've lived that for 3-4 years. So no matter how bad I think our new tackle is, he's not as bad as the guys that we've had the last 3-4 years.
Yeah, and I think in the end, the biggest effect is this. Will the Bengals' defensive line have more effect on Carolina, or will Carolina's linebackers have more of an effect on the Bengals? And I like the Bengals there. You know, Thomas Davis isn't there right now. They've got Luke Kuechly, who's a great player, but Geno Atkins, Carlos Dunlap, waiting for Carl Lawson to go off at some point, and Andrew Billings played much better last week. So, in the end, if I'm picking this game, Joe, I'm picking the Bengals to win this game 20-17.
Yeah, I'm looking, at that. I think with, the Cam Newton, without all his offensive weapons, he's going to be hurting some. So, I am going to pick the Bengals, but, I'm looking at something more like 28-14.
All right. I like yours better because then, it won't be so stressful watching the end of the game. So, what's your take on the Cleveland Browns winning the Super Bowl last night?
You know what, Mike? I actually watched the game, and I actually was rooting for Cleveland. Now, man, it's a Thursday night game. You're at home. You got the home crowd. I knew last night that Baker Mayfield was going to come. No matter, even before the game, I said, this is this. You got Sam Darnold over there playing, and I know Baker Mayfield is just jumping out of his skin. And you look at how inept the Cleveland's offense was. Almost the entire first half. I knew when he came in, man, and he was letting that ball go, man, and putting that ball in the pocket. So I'm saying, hey, welcome to the Baker Mayfield era.
Yeah, I was cheering against him just because I think Baker Mayfield is special, and it could change everything in Cleveland.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you've seen it. Because they were still, the Jets were still blitzing like crazy. Nothing changed. They had the same personnel, and this guy moved the offense. He moved the ball, and he was making plays. And, I think he has the opportunity to be special. One thing about them, I think they're going to be up and down because I think they inherited our offensive line. Their offensive line is pretty bad.
It's bad. And when they play a team with a big-time front seven, if they play a Cincinnati or Carolina, teams like that, they're going to have problems. I still think they're probably only a 4 or 5 win team this year, but they're only going to get better as it goes. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap the show up. You can catch me and Joe next week. You can follow on @GrillingTruth. We'll give you an update of when the show will be on. So I want to thank Joe tonight, who we just lost. So hopefully we'll be back with a 3-0 start to the season. I want to remind everybody you can go to thegrillingtruth.net to check out all of our content. Tonight, Inside Boxing Weekly previewing the Joshua Povetkin heavyweight title fight. You've got the Notre Dame show with Tony Hunter. We've got the 49er show with Dexter Carter. So make sure you go on, check everything out on thegruelingtruth.net. You can hear all of our shows on iHeart, iTunes, Spotify, Spreaker, Stitcher. Wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Joe Kelly, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.